Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. We know that Jeffrey Epstein's houses were completely and utterly wired up and ready to go. We know that he was recording all sorts of things that were occurring at his residence. We know that it wasn't just the New York house, or the Florida house, or the house in the Virgin Islands, or just Zorro Ranch. It was all of them. He was recording everything that was occurring when he had people over there. And my question is, where are those tapes? And, Virginia Roberts has come out on Twitter and she has some questions. She has some questions and she wants to know why nobody has been arrested yet. And it's a pretty valid and fair question, especially coming from her. I have the same question. How has nobody been arrested yet? If every one of these houses was wired up for video, you're going to tell me that the government is not in possession of any incriminating footage? I find that hard to believe. I find that very, very hard to believe. Unless, of course, they were tipped off to the raids and they were able to destroy or move the evidence, which is also quite possible. I don't understand how there have been zero arrests, folks. I mean, you're talking Leslie Groff, Adriana Ross, Sarah Kellen Vickers, etc., etc. How are none of these women brought in yet and put to the screws? It's mind-numbing to me to think that every one of these houses was wired up and there's no video evidence of what was going on. It's very hard for me to believe that. It's hard for me to believe that the government is not in possession of incriminating videos. My question is, why are they not using them to prosecute? Today we have an article from the Daily Mail, and it's about Virginia Roberts and her questions on Twitter. So if you don't follow her on Twitter, you probably should jump on there and do that. I always tell you guys, I'm not a huge fan of Twitter. I'm not super active on there. I only follow like 5 people on Twitter, and Virginia Roberts happens to be one of them because I respect what she has to say about this case. And if anyone knows what was going on in this sordid world, it's certainly her. So when she speaks, I think that people who follow this case and who have an interest in this case should certainly listen up. So the headline is, Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Roberts says every single room of Jeffrey Epstein's $77 million mansion had cameras and questions why the FBI still hasn't made any arrests. The article is by Hannah Skellern and it's for thedailymail.com. Virginia Roberts, who claims she was trafficked and forced to have sex with Prince Andrew, has said convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein's house was crawling with cameras. Again, she's not the only one. I've heard this from Maria Farmer. I've heard this from Jared Kellogg. I've heard this from several people involved in the case. So this isn't just a one-off where Virginia's like, oh, he had cameras too. No. This is something she's been saying from the very beginning. This is a very consistent report, and it's obvious that he had the whole entire place wired up so he could record what was going on, not only for his own sick, sordid fantasies, but so that they can complete their dossiers, right? Because at the end of the day, at the heart of this, that's what this was. This was about blackmail. This was about compiling information on important, powerful people. And they were so sick and disgusting that they thought it would be a good idea to use trafficked children to get this goal, to achieve this goal. That's how sick these people are. Roberts has said that she has seen images from the cameras and that they were fitted throughout his house. She's not the only one. We've heard this from numerous people. But what it does is when Virginia talks about it, well, it gives you some serious confirmation. There's zero doubt that Virginia Roberts was involved with this Epstein ring, right? There's zero doubt that she was over at Epstein's residences, all of them. Zero doubt, folks. I've seen the video room, she said on Twitter. Every single room was being filmed. I've seen some of the pictures. Epstein's abuse victim, Roberts, now known as Virginia Joffrey, claims she had sex with the Duke of York 3 times, once in London when she was 17, one time in New York, and another at Epstein's private Caribbean island. The claims have been strongly denied by the claims have been strongly denied by the Prince of Punk Asses. Roberts' remarks come after a former acquaintance of Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend of Epstein, and his alleged madam, had everything on videotape. Well, yeah, and it's not just Christina Oxenberg who came out and said that, but she's certainly another person who has come out and said it. Like I said, folks, there are so many people who have confirmed this at this point that there's zero doubt that this place was wired up and ready to go. The question is, and the most important question is, in my opinion, where is the footage? Where is the evidence, and who is in control of it? In an interview with the New York Post, socialite Christina Oxenberg said Maxwell had told her about the cameras when they were alone. She said many things, all creepy, unorthodox, strange. I could not believe whatever she was saying was real. Stuff like, Jeffrey and I have everyone on videotape, Oxenberg said. And this is how brazen they were about it. They understood, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell understood that once you were involved in their blackmail situation, once you had stepped foot into their honey trap, boy, it was on. They could be as brazen as they want about you. They could even put pictures of you in a dress on their wall. Because when they have these dossiers created and they have incriminating information, and we're not talking about somebody who's having an affair on his wife. We're not talking about somebody who did some drugs. We're not talking about somebody who was involved in some sort of illegal stock trading. We're talking about you are caught on camera, on film, engaging in sexual acts with underage girls. It's a showstopper. And that is why they instituted this ring. Because people could survive those other scandals. You cannot survive this sort of scandal. And that's why all of these people who have their names sealed in the documents still are scrambling to make sure that those names do not come out. Because if and when they come out, well, take a look at where Glenn Dubin's at. Take a look at where Prince Andrew's at. Take a look at where Les Wexner is. Once your name is associated with this to the point of you're being accused of engaging in the actual trafficking ring, well, you're in for a long, rough road. And I am happy about that. I am happy about the public scorn and the public pressure that people are putting on these people who are named as abusers of these young girls, as well as enablers. But the people that have actually abused Virginia Roberts, who have been named, I think that the first step for these people, obviously, is to be scorned publicly, be forced out of the public light, and then after that, when the walls are really closing in, that's when the FBI shows up and gives them the business. That's what I'm hoping, and I believe that these people stepping back is the first step of justice coming for the survivors. Several other sources have also confirmed that Epstein secretly filmed his guests using hidden surveillance cameras in his Manhattan mansion, according to the Telegraph. It's not just Manhattan, folks. I can confirm, and I'll confirm it here on the podcast, that I know for a fact, that all of these houses were wired up. I know that there were cameras in every single one of these houses. I know that for a fact. Virginia tweeted, In response, Roberts questions why there was a holdup in the police investigation. Every day, I wake up hoping that someone has been held accountable, and every day I wake up disappointed, she said. It's heartbreaking to read that, folks. It really is. She's been through so much, and all of these survivors have been through so much. But when you hear Virginia say stuff like that, it's heartbreaking. This young lady has shown zero fear towards these very powerful people. She has stood up to these people and told them no more. You will no longer control me. You will no longer control my emotions, and you will no longer get away with what you were doing. And she has been met with so much resistance, and there has been no arrests. Nobody has come forward to say, all right, you know what? I know what Epstein was doing. None of these people. And I know it gets disheartening and it's frustrating, but I truly believe that things are going to come to a head very soon. I think that there is too much pressure in regards to this case on the authorities for them not to make moves. And I think that we're going to see this year, 2020, I think this is going to be the year that we start to see the dominoes truly fall. Prosecutors in the U.S. are investigating sex trafficking allegations and are looking at possible conspirators who worked with Epstein. Well, are they looking hard enough, though? How much more evidence do they need? Everything has been put out on a platter for them. My question is, what is taking them so long to get busy? Now, it could be they're still trying to build the case. They're trying to build an ironclad case that when they bring it, they're going to drop the hammer on these people and there'll be no wiggle room. That could be one option. Or the other option is, and this is an option that I really hope is not the case, that they're just dragging their feet. That they're dragging their feet in hopes that the public will lose interest in the case. And if that's what they think they're going to get away with, if they think that's going to occur, they're in for a whole different sort of day. Because I have to tell you, I've been here for 140 straight days, folks, and I'm not going anywhere. And if they think that dragging their feet or releasing information in a trickle is going to stop us from diving deep and trying to hold people accountable, well, they are certainly wrong. Andrew has been accused of failing to respond to requests for an interview about the nature of his friendship with Epstein. The Duke has stepped away from royal duties following a disastrous Newsnight interview which probed his relationship with disgraced Epstein. Pedophile Epstein, I'd like to call him instead of disgraced, but that's okay. Yeah, look, we know that interview was the beginning of the end for Prince Andrew. There's no coming back from that. He came out in that interview. He thought he was going to be, he's going to put everything to bed. He was going to put a line under it. And he was going to move on. Wrong. That doesn't happen when you're a liar. That doesn't happen when you're dishonest. That doesn't happen when you're exposed by the person giving you the interview. Okay? And all of that occurred because Andrew was exposed as not only a moron, but a man who plays loose with the truth. All right? And we know that the Prince of Punk Asses has zero desire to speak to the authorities after Emily Maitlis wrecked his shit. Andrew has emphatically denied any relationship with Roberts, who is now 36 and a mother of 3 living in Cairns in Australia, in any form. Yeah, of course he did. How about the picture, though? You can't explain the picture, can you there, Prince Andrew? What about the email to your friend Ghislaine Maxwell about your questions about Virginia Roberts? You don't recall her, but you recall her enough to ask some questions to your friend Ghislaine via email? Come on, nobody's buying your shit, buddy. He says he does not recall a 2001 picture of him with Roberts in which he appears to have his hand on her bare waist and Ghislaine Maxwell being taken. He has questioned the authenticity of the picture. That's okay, you can question it all you want because we're questioning your authenticity. We're questioning you because everything you say has been fugazi, alright? You're a bullshit artist, Prince of Punk Asses, and we don't believe you, the Penguins don't believe you, and the Polar Bears don't believe you. Nobody believes you at this point. The Duke has also strongly denied claims he has been dodging an interview with authorities. How can you even claim that? Berman came out and said, you're not being responsive, you're not being helpful, you have not come forward. How can you even claim that you're not dodging authorities when the federal government is saying that you are? He also denies any knowledge that Epstein was abusing teenagers. Of course he does. Come on, Prince Andrew's a hell of a guy. He's a very honorable man, folks. You know what? He doesn't even wear that kit when Epstein's doing his abuse. So how could he be involved? He doesn't wear those clothes. That's not the right kit. This guy's such an absolute moron. The Prince of Punk Asses. I can't wait for him to really have his day. Epstein, who died in August 2019, was found dead in his New York jail cell aged 66 as he awaited trial on sex trafficking charges. I like what the author did here. Didn't say suicide, just said was found dead and leaves it open for the reader to interpret. His death was ruled a suicide, but this has been disputed by his lawyers. Yeah, not just by his lawyers, but by the general public as a whole. I mean, there's not much Bernie Sanders supporters and Donald Trump supporters have in common, all right? We all know that, okay? One thing that they do have in common, though, is neither group believes that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. And that says something, folks. What it says is people are not buying your BS anymore. People that aren't enraptured by the mainstream media are no longer buying into what you're selling. And everything that you tell us, we take with a grain of salt. When I read the New York Times or the Washington Post, I read them as if I was reading the Inquirer at this point. I have to vet everything because you're going to trust these people to vet their own stories when all they use are anonymous sources, and they try to kneecap people, and they're rude to survivors from this case. They discount them, they disregard them, they don't cover their stories, and yet they think that we're going to believe what they have to say when they hop on the stupid box and start preaching to us. Nah, those days are over. Those days are over. The legacy media is not a truthful partner. They're not truly interested in seeing justice be served in this case. All they're interested in at this point is, again, doing whatever they possibly can do to help their buddies out in intelligence so that they can continue to get the stories, so they can continue to get the scoops. That's all they care about. The news these days and the 6 gigantic companies that own pretty much all of the news, well, those companies don't have your best interest at heart, folks. They do not care. If it bleeds, it leads. If it's salacious, they want it. And they'll do it without using any confirmed sources at this point. They'll destroy people, and they have zero care about doing it. Yet, we have this whole entire sick, disgusting Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring and all of these powerful people who are involved in it, and the media isn't going crazy and having a heyday. They aren't going nuts and camping outside of guys like Dubin's houses. They aren't doing deeper dives into Les Wexner. Why not, folks? Why not? That's the question I ask myself. Who are they protecting, and why? And as Virginia Roberts said, why are there no arrests? That's really what it comes down to. Why are there no arrests? All right, folks, I'll be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. Also, if you would like to help support the podcast, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, folks, I will be back later on for the Daily Drop. I hope you all enjoy your Saturday. And of course, like usual, if you're going out tonight, hanging out today, please do not drink and drive. All right, everybody, I will talk to you later on tonight.